When trying to figure out the most appropriate measure, you're looking at a group of data and you're saying, okay, which number is the best representation of my set of data? Which central tendency, mean, median, or mode, is going to be the number that best represents my set of data? If I have a bunch of numbers, what number is going to tell me, okay, most of these numbers are right around this number? So we're going to be looking and seeing, is the best representation our mean, median, or mode? Well, there are ways to tell which one's the best. Okay, the best time to use your mean is whenever there are no outliers in your set of data. Remember, an outlier is a number that's way bigger or way smaller than all the rest of the numbers. It's not anywhere close to any of the other numbers. Okay, the best time to use your mode is when you have many identical numbers in your set of data. All right, so if most of your set of data is one number, well, then that one number would be the best representation of that set of data. Okay, now the best time to use your median is whenever there are outliers, at least one, maybe more, but there's no big gaps right in the middle of the data. Okay, so these are the three central tendencies and the best times to use them. So let's look at an example here. Here I have a set of data. I have it in order from least to greatest up here. Okay, now I found the mean of my set of data. I added them up and I divided by 8 because there were 8 numbers, and I found my mean was 16. I found the median of my data. Okay, there were 2 medians, so I added those together, divided by 2, so my median was 9. And then I found my mode, and there were 2 modes, both 2 and 14 were repeated twice. So now I want to know which one is the best representation. Okay, so is it the mean, median, or mode? Because they're all different. The mean was 16, the median was 9, and the modes were 2 and 14. Well, those are all awful different numbers, so I want to know which one is the best representation. Well, the first thing I want to do is look and see, is there an outlier in my set of data? I have 2, 5, 8, 10, 14. Ooh, 89 is way bigger than all the rest of those numbers. So yes, there is an outlier. If there's an outlier, then the mean is not the best representation. Okay, now was there one number that was repeated way more than the rest? Was it repeated the most, like over half the time probably? No, there were 2 numbers repeated twice, but there wasn't one that was repeated lots of times. There wasn't lots of identical numbers. So no, there was no number that was repeated the most or way more than all the rest of them. So no, our mode would not be a good representation. Was there a large gap in the middle of the data? No. No, those are all right around each other. So no, I wouldn't say that there was a gap. So that means that our median would be the best representation of this set of data. Okay, we looked to see if there was an outlier. There was. So no, we don't want to use the mean if there's an outlier. We looked to see if there was one number that was repeated way more than all the rest of them, and there wasn't. So no, the mode was not a good representation, which means we would use our median because there was no large gap right in the middle of the data. Okay, they were all close to each other right in the middle of the data. Let's look at a couple more examples. 3, 9, 0, 2, 0, 1, and 2. Is there an outlier? Remember, the first thing we want to do is look for an outlier. Is there an outlier in our set of data? Yes, there is. 19 is way bigger than the rest of those numbers. The rest of them are 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if there is an outlier, then we do not want to use the median, or excuse me, the mean, right? The mean would not be a good representation because we have an outlier. Is there one number that's repeated way more than all the rest of them? Okay, no. 2's repeated twice, but other than that, there's not, and 0 is also, but there's not one number that's repeated several times. So no, so mode would not be a good representation. So the only thing left is our median, and there's not a great big gap right in the middle of the data. Okay, there's one toward would be toward the end of the data because 19 would be our largest number, but not toward the middle. So median would be the best one to use in that case. Okay, so let's look at our next set. 2, 4, 5, 2, and 3. Is there a large gap in that data, or an outlier in that data? Is there one number that's way bigger or way smaller than the rest? No. 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all right around each other. So if there's not an outlier, we use the mean. That one was easy. And then our last set of data, we notice here we have 5 13s. Well, 5 out of 7 numbers are 13. That means we have one number that's repeated way more than the rest of them. So in that case, since we have one number that's repeated the most, and I mean a lot more most, right, 5 of them, then yes, we would use the mode, right? When you have one number that's repeated way more than all the rest of them, then you use the mode. So there are 3 instances. In this one we use the median, because we couldn't use the mean or the mode. In this one we use the mean because there was no outlier. And in this one we use 13, the mode, because it was repeated way more than the rest of them. So those are when you use the appropriate central tendencies or measures.